Oh, hello, Studio 108 community, and welcome to Following. I'm glad that you're here. I'm sitting down today with my friend Angelene Parker, who is a fellow hippie goddess of her own right. And so we just have been like comparing gemstones and favorite shopping spots, and we almost forgot to clue you in. So welcome, we're glad you're here.
So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I know, right?
This is so fun.
I know.
This is my first podcast.
Well, this is very
So,
exciting.
see, this is why I'm so excited.
Yes, it is very exciting. That's why you brought all your special stones.
Yeah, I had to just feel well prepared and just, certain friends called out to me. So you just.
Right.
Yeah,
So let's tell the people what we have, because it's hard to like not be.
Oh, yeah.
We want to be in-ski on it. So Angelene brought
I have a little lapis.
a lapis. That's like a third eye throat stone.
Throat, yeah.
Okay.
And it's specifically good for breath. It's associated with breath specifically.
Interesting. That's our topic today.
And oh my gosh.
Amethyst.
Amethyst, yes.
Yeah. And the amethyst good for the throat too.
Mm-hmm.
I love amethyst because I feel like amethyst finds its way and does its work.
She really does. She's a good protector. She's just always, she's always there when you need her.
She's good juju. You don't have to tell her what to do.
Yeah.
She's like, I got you.
It's not high maintenance either. Some of them are high maintenance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you've got selenite there, which is always one of my favorites. If you guys ever come to the studio and you see those big logs I have, those are selenite. Also, the lamps that we have are selenite as well. So when you put the lamp in and it heats it, then there's a little bit of an extra like love fest going on.
It is, and they look so pretty when they're lit up too.
They're so pretty. They make the place look dreamy.
It does, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The first time I saw the selenite castle, like my double pointed castle, I was like, oh, I used to live there. Right? Right. Yes. Yes. It's such a remembrance. Okay.
I love it.
What else?
So I have a little selenite and then a little rainbow moonstone.
Beautiful.
And then clear quartz. She's a great one as well. Just clears everything away.
She clears everything. And I feel like clear quartz is like, she partners with anybody and makes them better.
Yeah.
So she exaggerates or accentuates anybody else. So all of the friends are good to have her on the team.
Mm-hmm. And then I think this one might be shungite. I'm not positive.
Shungite is glamour,
isn't it? Okay. So it's a purple stone and it begins with an S, and I don't remember the name of it.
That's okay.
That's all right though.
But I won my mom today, and we like her.
Mm-hmm.
I brought out my trololite, which is this beautiful blue sandy mixture thing. It's a taller tower if you're not on YouTube and you can't see it. Angeline's got a beautiful little pile. She brought them in like in her hands. Fumbling everywhere. I was like, I see you, I know you, you are me, come in. But I recently got this big tower of this kind of blue. It reminds me of like mermaids and the ocean. And so I brought it out to be with us today too, because we were just talking stones. Mm-hmm. So that's cool.
That's a good starting point.
That's a good start. You gotta start somewhere.
These are our friends that are with all of us today.
These are our friends. And Angelene teaches yoga at the high school to the teams. Which teams?
Well, I was teaching to the swimming team, and then every once in a while I would go in and help out with PE, or if they had a special day where they were offering special classes to students. So cool. To those teenagers. Need it the most, I think, right?
I think they do, and you have teenagers, so you know what that's about.
Yes.
Do you feel like sometimes it's easier with other people's teenagers than with your own? Loaded question.
1,000,000%. Yes. Yes. So if you ask my my 18-year-old, does she like yoga? There is not only like there is an eye roll that involves like a head roll as well. Like no. So it's a all-encompassing
whole body.
But what's funny is that her best friend loves coming to yoga and wants to become a yoga teacher. So she's joining this session in July.
Yeah, I love that. I talked to her on the phone a couple weeks ago. That's sweet. She's the sweetest can be. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true. And I think that when they say it takes a village, that's part of what it means. Like we have to help each other. Like you're helping her mother by taking her in and saying, try this yoga thing. And I know for my daughter Leo, when she was at that age, it was Stacy DeGennaro Downing who took Leah under wing and said, let's try this bar thing. Because mom's thing is just like too close for comfort. So you gotta find something.
And you know what? And she's my daughter. Like if I anything my mom was doing at the age of 18. Like, love you, mom, but you know it, didn't want anything to do with it.
Right.
And I wanted to forge my own way and be my own person. And I want the same thing for her.
Right.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Yeah.
She's
I know
fine.
she'll find a way.
She's fine,
back.
you're fine.
Will,
Cool that you're at the school. That's cool. And Angelene took 500 with us. You see her here on her mat. She's got one of those groovy rug mats that everybody wants to talk about.
It is really, I love it. It is, yeah.
That's really good. Okay, so we're all about the stuff today.
Yeah.
That's an interesting turn of events for me. I'm usually not. So let's talk about the real stuff. So Angelene took some really deep dives into pranayama and breathwork, and on top of her 500, that same year, she took a training on pranayama and breathwork that was deep into philosophy and into practices, and really was across the bandwidth of what's being offered. So there were contemporary conversations as well as the traditional. What do you have to say about that?
Well, what I loved most about the training was that there was so much science that now backs up these practices that are thousands and thousands of years old. So what the science has done is it's totally empowering it to be the tool that it was intended to be, and take all of the woo-woo mystification out of it completely. That leaves no more room for that conversation to occur as often, because there's just test after test and study after study.
You can still bring your rocks.
Absolutely, it's all part of it. Absolutely, but there is so much science behind it that just kind of makes it settle. Even those of us who don't need the science to get on board with it, it does make it feel better to know, all around, there's no doubt, there's no surface left.
There's credibility.
Yes.
There's accountability. Correct. There's responsibility. Because I think even as a teacher, it's nice when I know the science, because then I can be more confident in what I'm teaching, what I'm sharing.
Exactly. These are powerful practices: breathwork, meditation, yoga. They're all embodiment practices, and it makes us all really uncomfortable. And they're strong and powerful tools. And as a teacher, it's our responsibility and our duty to make sure that we know what they're going through, so we can safely guide them through those experiences.
Right.
And that's what I love about the science. Is that extra support as a teacher who's out there trying to spread the magic.
Right. And know that what you're doing is actually safe and for the well-being of the person, and then to know when it's not, because there are definitely some counterindications.
For sure. There are certain breathwork practices that are available to everyone at any time and anybody in any condition. And that's pretty much the RYT, the inhale for a count of 5, exhale for a count of 5. Sometimes you might need to adjust the count for the person, but just equaling out the breath, that practice is available to anyone. And once you start getting off of that, though, there are certain considerations you do have to take into account. Where are they at mentally? Certain breathwork practices could muddle up some stuff mentally that, maybe that teacher isn't ready to guide that practitioner through, or maybe the practitioner just isn't ready, It can be some intense uncovering sometimes.
Sure, and it could not be the situation. It could be a group situation where this is not the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. So when you are working with a group, what is your rhyme or reason? How do you get yourself organized for that?
So my intention, what is my intention for the group setting? And that all comes into play. What is my group setting? Who are the people that are going to attend? What's the environment? Am I indoors? Am I outdoors? Do I know everybody that's going to be there? That's a huge one. And how well do I know them? Because you can know someone and not know anything about any health conditions or anything like that. And those are really serious considerations to take into account. So when I'm leading a group setting, and just if I didn't know anybody, I would keep things very simple. I would just guide them. I wouldn't leave a whole lot of room for, I wouldn't leave them sitting alone in meditation. I would do more of a guided where my voice was coming more frequently, so they had something to feel comforted by, and then kind of move deeper in.
Yeah, take it little by little. That's
Exactly.
good advice for people coming into these practices, because I feel like, you know, when you take a toddler to a beach and the ocean is just like so big, like that's like yoga. And even though it looks really simple on the outside, we all know that what's going on in the inside can be oceanic. Like
Yeah.
it can be an upheaval, it can be an ebb and a flow, like all of that
Yeah.
kind of language around that. You'll see like a 2-year-old kind of scamper up, get their toes wet, and then run back. And if the wave comes up and knocks them down, it's going to be a little bit longer before they kind of take themselves back up to the edge and try again.
Exactly.
So
100%.
it's probably best for beginners to kind of tiptoe in a little gradually.
Start small, and there's start small. Intuition is a big part of breathwork, but really just starting small. Like, don't bite off more than you can chew. And to be honest with you, like, it took me so many years of practicing breathwork and meditation before I even really began to love and enjoy it. Like, where I like actively like cannot wait to get up, and like it's something I look forward to doing every day.
Right.
And I've for a long time I would get up from like a bad meditation, and Johnny Pollard has this awesome quote, like, you don't have a good or bad meditation, you either have a gratifying or an ungratifying, and both are just as powerful as one another.
100%. Yeah.
And that kind of totally shifted my perspective. I was like, what an awesome way to look at it. Like, you know, sometimes in those meditations that are really difficult, those are the days that like I really probably need to sit down for a few minutes longer. But when I was first learning, it was discouraging, like I wasn't doing it right. Whereas I probably would have just started off small, like 2-3 minutes a day. That would have been way more attainable.
And biting off the big chunks.
Exactly, then trying to sit
I think
down.
one of the things that people miss, especially because we're so accustomed to like the big bang things, you know, like we want to get sore and we want to like sweat buckets, like we want to have this big impact, and you know, we care and we try, like this trying to do really good thing is like woven into our culture. Is I think what's
part of it,
I think what's really interesting as you practice something consistently over time is that you realize that the power is actually in the not trying. And the big things are little and the little things are big. And so let's talk about pranayama. Let's talk about breath practices being the little subtle.
Well, I think, you know, you hit on so many great points in just now. Is one of our society's biggest problems is that we live in this chronic stress state where we have become accustomed to thinking like sitting down for even 5 minutes and taking time to breathe and feel how we're feeling is a scary, unnecessary, wasteful time. When the reality of the situation is we really don't have the time not to do it anymore.
100%.
You know, these chronic levels of stress keep our bodies in these levels of stress, and whatever emotionally our body is feeling, the corresponding hormones are being released into the body. And once you have like these stress hormones, like the amount of, let me clarify, there is a great amount of stress that people should have, but it's these chronic states of stress that
cortisol bath that just never
goes away. And it doesn't allow our body any time to heal. And so that's, I think, one of the biggest problems a lot of people have when they come to these embodiment practices is a retraining of the brain. Getting, you know, it is super uncomfortable sometimes to sit with yourself. Like, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes up here it's like its own little party, and sometimes it's a great time, and sometimes it's like, oof.
Yeah, it's not.
Where is the door? Can I exit, please?
Yeah.
And
I think, excuse me, when they say that if you're able to sit for meditation for an hour, then sit for an hour. If you can't sit for an hour, then sit for 2 hours.
Exactly.
Like that idea that we can push it away and say, I'm just not good at that, and push it away. But just not being good at it isn't really actually a reason to not do it, because when you push it away and say, I'm just not good at that, what it really means is I need this so badly.
Exactly. And really, like, especially when you're talking about breath work, like, we're already all breathing, so we actually can do it.
How much of us do it accurately though? Let's hear that number again.
Not
I'll never forget that number.
Patrick McKeown, he's a great breath. He has a couple of great books out on it, and his studies, I think, said something like 70% of Western adults do not breathe correctly.
Yeah.
And it's
they don't
very
breathe
true.
like appropriately in a healthy way. I mean, your breath, if you don't breathe appropriately, like you're depriving every single cell in your body of oxygen.
Yeah.
You're depriving your entire form of that energetic flow.
Yes. Everything is disrupted. Your respiratory system, your breath is the absolute, like, when all other systems are shut down, that is the one that the body's like, I have to keep this one going. It's like priority number one is your breath. So you have to. Yeah.
So a lot of people will breathe like inverted with their diaphragm moving opposite of the direction.
Right.
People will breathe very shallow, which is limiting lung capacity over time.
Yes, most of us when we breathe into like the top third of our lung, our lungs are separated into thirds. And the chronic stress, the stress keeps most of us breathing up top. And we don't use the diaphragm as much as we should. And it's one of the biggest muscles in the body, most important muscles in the body too. So, what happens when we don't use our muscles, they atrophy, and then everything down below it becomes all funky, and everything above it becomes all funky, and nothing's moving and working.
One of the things that I really experience is when I am stressed, and I don't have periods of down-regulating that, like my diaphragm mobility is limited and my back starts to hurt. My neck starts to hurt.
Yeah.
Like we don't think back pain, neck pain, maybe I'm not breathing properly.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. No, it's so funny. I talk with other breathwork facilitators all the time, and it's so common, like we're just blown away that breath like isn't one of those it just is such a great precursor for everything else going on in the body, physically, physiologically, wow, yeah, emotionally, and it's just such an undervalued tool.
Right.
And so powerful.
I know. I was shocked at one point, and this was through a period of time that had a lot of like embedded situational trauma to it for me. And I was at the PTs about my back, and he said, "You don't breathe very well." And I was like, "Oh my God, yoga teacher." And I do breathe well. I know every single one of these practices, but like no one's impervious. Everyone has to practice. And when stressors and traumas and the heat of life kind of like gets to you, it just does. We're human. There's no shame or fault or anything.
Right.
It's just time to get back to it.
Exactly. So one of the best things people can do is just slow your breath down. They say that if you inhale to a count of 5 and exhale to a count of 5, that will automatically slow your breath down to 5 breaths per minute. And that will, in 1 minute, basically shift your nervous system from your sympathetic down into your parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest. So when you're feeling like all anxious, you just take a few breaths.
In 1 minute, you can shift your state of
shift
being.
your whole entire state of being.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. A lot of people are talking about Wim Hof breathing and stuff. So tell us.
I love Wim. I've read his books. I'm in the middle of finishing up his training right now, and he's just great.
He's a cool dude.
He's a super cool dude. I am honest about the whole entire situation. The cold, man, I love you, but I'm trying to get on board with the cold. I'm just really like a warm person.
I like the warm better, but I cold shower. In Kundalini yoga, the cold shower is the thing. We don't submerge our genitals. And even, I had a doctor tell me that you really don't need to submerge in that ice like that. If a 3-minute cold shower, if you can get that, then you're getting that same trigger to your system that will support the immune. But I don't get Raynaud's as often since I've been doing it for 3 years. Cold shower every morning. So if I warm shower and wash my hair, then I'll cold shower for a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Yeah, and then it does feel good, and I'll do that at the end of my showers. But I don't sit in there.
I'm not a big fan of sitting in an ice bucket. Women can have it. But what is the breath that he's using? It does come from yoga tradition.
It absolutely does. It's similar to like a Bastrika or a Tumo breath, and you're just taking really full, long, deep inhales and exhales. He directs the breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. he instructs that you can do it in through the mouth and out through the mouth as well. Because of my training, I prefer in through the nose, out through the mouth, and just really full deep breaths. And then what you do is you do that for a set period of time. And then after that, you come into the kumbukas, the breath retentions, after the end of your exhale and your inhale. And to be honest with you, that's, I've obviously practiced it many times, and those kumbukas, those breath holds are where you just blast off. And
in Kundalini we call it high on your own supply.
Really,
you're oxygenating yourself like crazy.
Your hormones are all firing, your pineal and your pituitary glands are like just fired up and just like vibrating, and just you're just vibrating in a whole new place, in a whole new level. And they're so powerful. So I really, really, really can't speak highly enough about the breath work, but I absolutely agree with lots of people that I wouldn't lead a group class full of practitioners I didn't know through it.
Gotcha. You have to have some sort of readiness for that.
I believe so, because of the breath holds and because of where you go. I think that with no prior warm up or prior experience with breath work, it could be a lot. It could be a lot. And depending on who you are and what you're dealing with, it could be exactly what you need, or there could be something else that you could do prior to that will put you in a better place to get what you need from that.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for that caveat. I think that's really important, especially, hey, listener, check with your doctor before doing any exercise.
100%, exactly.
This is not medical advice.
No, not at all.
Right.
No.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is one more thing we need to talk about, because I snagged something from your 500 project that you shared that has been so life-changing. And I honestly, usually I'm like the bossiest, most nibby-nosy person, and I'll tell everybody, you have to do this, you have to do this. I'm like so pushy, but for some reason, I haven't bought one for the kids or bought one for Bill or anything. It's just been my thing. I haven't told anyone. So I'm secretly using this. I have told a couple people here just individuals, but at home, I'm secretly using these little nostril openers, these little wideners.
Nose dilators.
Nose dilators, that's what they are. So the nose dilator in my nose at night helps me sleep so much better.
So much better. If you live in Cleveland, Ohio, or anywhere where you have really bad allergies, or you suffer from sinus problems,
there's dust in the house, anything,
or you wake up in the morning, your mouth is really dry, get yourself a nose dilator. You can go on Amazon, they have different kinds. You can even get these nose tapes that you can put on the outside of your nose, but to be honest with you, I much prefer the ones that go in. I just think they work so much better.
Yeah.
And it's changed my life. It's changed my life.
Better.
Yeah. I'm in the sinus problems. I still get nasally and I still feel run down sometimes, but I used to get these sinus infections where my nose, where it would get so infected, it looked like I had softball.
Wow, sorry.
And not anymore though. Not anymore. Thanks, nose dilators.
Yeah.
And
I used to get bad sinus in the neti pod. Once I started neti pod, and I neti every single day. I even travel with my neti pod. So it's not like I neti pod when I'm sick. As a matter of fact, the advice is don't do it when you're sick. Do it when you're healthy and maintain your tissues. That has changed everything, because I would get 2 or 3 sinus infections a year.
Yes.
Antibiotics and everything back in the day. But since I don't know, I think it was the late 90s, I started neti podding, and I haven't had a sinus infection since. But the nasal dilator.
Yeah.
So I guess everyone's gonna get them in their stockings this year if I do that one, because now the secret's out of the bag.
The secret is out, yeah.
Yeah, but they help me sleep so much better, and they're clear. The one that I bought is clear lucite, so it goes up there, so no one even sees it. No one will notice.
I found mine. The one I think I gave you it's called MAC, MACK, or MAC. I don't know, Max. And I just found it down at Drug Mart. It's
Oh.
right by where like the cough drops are, like right all the nasal
This Drug
medication.
Mart down
Yes, this Drug Mart down here.
Cool.
You can get them there, or Amazon has
I bought
them.
them off of Amazon.
Yep, and then Drug Mart has a different one. They have one that like looks like a little prong, and then they have one that looks like basically like a apparatus being shoved up your nose. But that one works really well too.
Does
They're
it?
both really
You've
great.
tried them all?
I have.
I've only tried this one kind. I got it off of Amazon. Yeah. So you guys, like, you have to try that. The research on breathing through your nose is indisputable. So we'll
It's a big thing for me.
include, I'm gonna include a couple things down in the notes.
Okay.
So the Breathwork book by James Nestor.
Nestor
has not just the research about nose breathing, but also so much interesting anthropology.
Yeah,
and sociology. Like, he's done a cultural dive that was super interesting.
That's one of my favorite things about him. I would love to meet James Nestor because he didn't only just go off of other people's word. I mean, he just dove right in. It's like, let's see what this is all about. Like, every single breathwork practice he wrote about, he participated in. There might be one or two in the book that he didn't, but he fully, like, that was one of the first disclosures he made about it. But it made his writing, and it made him so much more relatable, and you trusted him so much more because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, nasal breathing, James McKeown, or Patrick McKeown, Patrick McKeown also in his books, both of his books, talks about nose breathing versus mouth breathing. And there's a difference. So it's like habitual mouth breathing is the culprit. There are pranayama practices in which we are consciously breathing through our mouth. Wind pop is one of them.
Yeah.
And when you are breathing through your mouth in a conscious manner for a sustained period of time, that's totally different than habitually breathing through your mouth. When you breathe through your mouth, you're basically denying your body of so much of the oxygen and the gas exchange that occurs. The breath that goes in isn't humidified, it doesn't absorb, and plus the nitrous oxide, you can only get it in your body through your sinuses, and that's such a huge part and has so many benefits for, especially when we're sick and our body starts to shut down, everything on the inside gets really small. The nitrous oxide expands, keeps our blood supply open and flowing really well. Wow.
So even like runners and cyclists and athletes, it's optimal to breathe through your nose.
Yes, 1,000,000%. As soon as you have to take a breath through your mouth, you overexert yourself. So Patrick McKeown does a lot of research, and he does a lot of work with Olympic athletes. And that's one of the things he talks about is people get frustrated working with him because when he gets hired, that's one of the first things he'll do is as soon as he notices, like, you got to take a step back. Then, oftentimes they freak out because they're like, wait a minute, I've made all this progress. I have to go back here. And he's like, but you have to start breathing through your nose. And when they get to where they were before, they accelerate so much faster because their body is getting
more efficient,
more efficient, working optimally. Everything, all systems are go. And
but they need to breathe through the nose.
Breathing through the nose.
Brilliant. I mean, that changes so much in the field of exercise physiology to have to look at that differently and change that with athletes. It's huge.
It does,
and I can't even really just run for the phone.
I'm breathing through my nose. All the runners out there.
Right? It's just like, yeah. I mean, I grew up I had a deviated septum, so I couldn't breathe through my nose like at all. And they would always say, shut your mouth, breathe through your nose.
And that's one of the things that I like about
there was no air.
Exactly. And so that's one of the things the nose dilator has really helped with is because I have a deviated septum as well. And so, I couldn't sleep at night anywhere other than through my mouth. And that just kind of really opened things up, and it's improved my sleep. It's improved my mood, my mental clarity, my overall health, my vibrancy, my ability to
just feel rest.
I mean, I wake up and I feel like I slept.
I know. I love it. Oh my gosh, we could talk all day.
I know.
Oh, you guys, do you want to go have lunch with us? Because I think it's lunchtime.
I know. Oh my gosh, I went by so quickly.
Yeah, we had so much fun.
That was so much fun.
Okay, so in the bottom, I'm putting the breath book and Patrick McKeown's books and the nasal dilators. And you guys think about Saturdays, because Angeline's doing a series of breath workshops. You can just come to one of them. You don't have to like commit to all of them. But they're on Saturdays.
Yeah, and they're gonna be like a little bit of, you know, the way I have the workshop set up is we're going to start with a little bit of breath knowledge. We're going to go over some breathwork practices, and then each week I'm going to give you like a breathwork and meditation journey at the end. So like half of it's going to be like information, and then the other half we're actually going to be working with, and you're going to experience everything that we're going through that day. So
Super interesting.
week will be a different new experience with different breathwork practices. We will kind of build one week after another, but by all means, come and
See what it's like.
see what it's like. I promise it'll be a great time.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, and this is like a good time to try something new, because what do you think is going on out there? It's a rainy mess. Get in here. And let's figure out how to breathe more efficiently. And
Yes.
and then everything's gonna be super sunny and great.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
For following. I know, right?
I know.
Don't you think they should click like and share and
Think they should
subscribe and
like,
all those
share,
things?
subscribe, all of that
Comments,
stuff.
put your ideas down.
Yes, any questions, let us know.
For
And
sure.
I know.
I know.
This is so much fun. It's
Awesome. Namaste.
Yay.
Namaste, you guys.